Good evening, everyone. How are you doing tonight? I just want to thank you for taking the time to watch our video, and we definitely appreciate it. We're going to try to give you a little education by the end of this feed and hopefully save you some money or help you get a good deal on a car. Meanwhile, what's been going on, everybody? We are definitely going to be getting into used cars for sale near me under $1,000 and where to find them, how to find them. Can you get a good deal? What can happen? I mean, can you get a good deal under $1,000? What happens? What are you actually looking for? What are the red flags and what are the green flags? There's a lot of green flags out there as well as red flags. So the green flags is what we're looking for tonight. It's definitely, this is going to be more of a lesson of psychology than it is going to be on buying and selling cars, because the $1,000 game, it's all a mind game. Trust me on that. Meanwhile, how is everybody doing tonight? I hope they're doing good. And also one quick brief announcement. This will be our last time on air from the old kitchen. We're going to be going to a studio, and the next time we broadcast live, it will be from a studio. But although I do think this has been fun and definitely have enjoyed it, but we've got to move it on up and get our stuff together. You know how it goes. Unfortunately, life keeps evolving. All right, so into the subject tonight. Let me get my chat on so we can talk. It is a live open forum, and feel free to talk. Say anything you got to say. For some reason, here we go. Messages. All right, live chat on this. Okay, live chat. All right, guys, just trying to do that for you real quick. I just want to make sure you got the ability to talk. Can somebody just put something out there? Just be like, hey, whatever. Just put a. I just want to see if it's working. I don't see anything working just yet. This is why we need a studio. We're going to have somebody that does this for us. All messages are visible. Okay, cool. We are good to go, guys. We're good to go. All right, so on to it. Where do you find a $1,000 car? Okay, so there's plenty of places to find $1,000 cars. That's not a problem. Laura Martinez, hey, Gloria, hello. Hey, guys, what's going on? Nice to see you joining us tonight. You just mentioned whatever that guy's name, Rick, was. No, actually, he's just another YouTuber. The guy's a nice enough guy. He's doing his thing. We wish him well. Hope he does all good. Could care less. What's up, Auto Buff? Auto Buff, what's going on? Auto Buff's going to be a great one to join in on the $1,000 round, and he's going to be good for saving that money. Okay, so what I was telling you guys, this is all about psychology on $1,000 cars. And how do you find them? Okay, because if we all went into Craigslist in any state, anywhere we're in right now, we just pulled it up, and impossible to find a good car. I love the challenge. Need a good mechanic, seems they just don't want to work. Yes, those are all true statements. So this is where you find good $1,000 cars. It isn't so much as where you actually physically finding them at. It's what the verbiage is when they're advertising them. This is how you find a good car. You're looking for someone basically that's honest. When I say honest, you're looking for someone that's being disclosing on the problems that are with the car. Because the human brain, for some reason, we're all programmed. This is where a lot of money's made at. We're all programmed when we're shopping for stuff to find reasons not to buy it. I'll give you an example. So I recently bought a Ford Focus. And this ad, went through about 3 different things that was wrong with it. And then this whole long laundry list of why they didn't want it anymore and on and on. It was painfully honest, and it was very disclosing. At the end of the day, I went and looked at it. I didn't really want it, but it was a good car. Just needed an alternator. That was about it. And I offered them $200. I mean, I didn't even want the project. And bam. And there we are. $100 later, we have a very nice vehicle that runs and very operational. And it's a $350 car. And we duplicate this process almost daily, at least a couple times weekly, depending on where we're finding cars and who we're dealing with. And how we do that is when we're analyzing the situation, you got to find the person that has already sold themselves that what they have has no value. If you're looking at somebody that's trying to or that has oversold themselves, I'll give you some clues. If you're looking at the ad and it says, don't try to lowball me, I know what I have. Just because it needs a transmission, still a good car. This car ran great until it stopped running. All these things are red flags to you that tells you, hey, you know what? It's not a good idea to stop in and buy them a car. I mean, I'm sorry, to buy their car from them because they're going to be sold on how much it's worth. The person you're looking for is the person that's already sold themselves. Hey, you know what? I've already bought a car, and these are great. Females are great for selling their cars because they do not get, trust me, they do not get personally attached to a used car when there's a new one. Out with the old, in with the new. I've got one of my very good friends here right now that actually just did this last week. She bought a car, and the car ticked her off, broke down, and she went right to a dealership and bought another one and just gave them the other car. Like, she just had zero personal attachment to the vehicle at all. Yep. And a lot of people are just like that. They get this thing in their mind. Maybe they couldn't get the AC to work just right. And over time, they've called somebody and somebody said, well, it's going to cost you $1,000 to fix the AC. They don't take it any further. They're like, forget that. I don't want anything to do with it. I just want the car gone. That's your customer. That's who you're looking for. Recently I had someone on a very nice vehicle, like a 2000 late model Jetta. I can't remember what it was, maybe 9 or 8 or 9, good miles. And, they were like, oh yeah, we were told that it needs a timing belt. Okay, I'll feel you. All right, I'll check it out. Well, it was the injection pump, which is about $75. It makes all this crazy noise. And the more I got into it, I was like, well, what gave you the idea you need a timing belt? And they're like, well, a mechanic said that's what he probably thought it was. Now, they're driving the car every day, so it's definitely not a timing issue. But that's what I'm saying. People oddly enough get sold that what their problem is overwhelming and it's not worth fixing. And just like when someone makes up their mind they're going to do something positive, like they're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go run this marathon. Don't care who gets in the way. The same thing happens when they want to get rid of something. If they want to get rid of a car or whatever they have that they just don't want anymore, they just get it in their mind, and all of a sudden there is no more. They've just canceled the monetary value to it. They've zeroed their emotional ties, and it's just a piece of metal sitting there. They could care less. So for the savvy buyer out there, you can definitely find $1,000 car with little to no effort. Now, in our particular realm of the atmosphere, or wherever you live, hopefully they have inspections so you can go on a few cues like, okay, is this vehicle an inspected car and what's wrong with it? They're like, oh, well, the CV axle clicks and someone quoted me $1,000, $1,500 to fix it. And everybody knows you can go buy one for $75, $80 and pay somebody $30, $50 to put it in. I mean, sometimes, whatever. You can call and get your own deal done. And so don't buy into what people say are wrong with cars, especially for cars under $1,000, because people have already reached the point that they're no longer want it. If it's under $1,000, they're just canning it. It's no more value. Okay, also that you want to pay attention to this. All right, hold on, let me catch up. Need a good mechanic, seems they don't want to work. Gloria, I cannot tell you how true, absolutely true that is. A lot of good mechanics out there. The reason the good mechanics do work, that's why they have all the work. The bad mechanics don't, which is why you can always get them on the phone, but they won't ever do anything. And South Carolina, just looking for my daughter a college car. This is a great video for you to catch on to. So if you really want to catch on to this, here's what I would suggest you do. Put some filters on your searches. I'm just going to use Craigslist because I think we all use those with no problem. Put a car in there for $1,000 max or $1,500 max. Just put $1,500 max. And then set the year model at a minimum of 2007 or 2008. Okay? And then start looking at the cars that are available and the type of problems that are with them that pop up. You might only have a handful, but it'll start putting you in the mind of what people are saying is wrong with cars and how they devalue them. And I think you'll find really quick, like right now in our market, I've seen several 2007, 8s, the little Nissan Versas. The other day, I could have bought one. I just didn't have time to get there, which I preach about this all the time. But they had it, and the car sold for $550, and it was it's black automatic AC, still inspected, had a few little quirky things going on with it. But as far as riding and driving, I mean, guys, that's a late model car for $500, and they are around everywhere. You just got to know how to look for them. Now, how not to get stung in this is you can't ever believe the guss of what if someone's overselling something. believe me, they're hiding something. So if you look at something and the pictures are like ridiculously good and the information is very limited and they have a pretty high price on it, but it may be in your budget of what you're looking for, beware, because that seller right there is probably, they know what they're doing, and if they're concealing something, they're going to be able to conceal it well enough to get it through a regular consumer. Just a quick in there. Let's see. Laugh my ass off. Impossible to find $1,000 cars. BS. I started with a $200 Ford Taurus, made $1,200 profit, and that gave me the fever. LOL. Yeah, I think what Laura is talking about is she's probably out looking for $1,000 cars, and she's probably like, you know what it is, because if you legitimately go look at 10 cars that were listed for $1,000, you would find 10 pieces of junk. You got to kind of filter the conversations that you're having with the people and how you kind of got to. I almost say this. I almost say this like with a little hesitation, but you got to deal with honest people at some level, meaning that they've got to at least be attempting to be honest. And, you know, you'll get the feel for ads that are good. And one thing when we come into OBS, which is our live broadcasting program that we're putting together, I'm going to be able to go into whatever town you're in, and we're going to do it live on the computer for everybody here. And we're going to isolate different cars, and we're going to give opinions on everybody. I want everybody involved. And like we'll go to Auto Buff's town and we'll pull him up over there, whatever media he's using, and we'll start educating and kind of giving you feedback on what we're seeing in ads that make us inclined to check them out, and then also ads that we would pass on or seem like a scam. Just kind of giving you some insight. And people that buy cars all the time, this is all they do. This is what we do, so we're kind of used. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I think is probably the best analogy. We just get used to it. Question: a mechanic told me I need new ball joints when he was overhauling the brakes. The car shows no sign of these things failing. Okay. All right. Let me give you an example. So ball joints are very easy to tell if they're bad, just for some simple reasons. If you want, you can just take your tires, turn them all the way to the left or right, look in there, and if you know where the ball joints are located, the lower ball joints, you'll see them. They'll just be sitting there, and there'll be a little stud kind of coming through with a bolt and a little ball, so to say, and you'll see a boot around it, and it'll be torn or something like that. And if it's not torn, then the only way else you're going to know is if you feel it rattle, which you would know it if you're driving the car. Ball joints make that clunky feel. It's one of the things that can cause it, but definitely. I've had mechanics. My dad recently has an Escalade. He recently was quoted telling somebody told him that he needed a rear main seal in an Escalade. Well, to give you an idea, that's an engine pull and probably $3,000 to $4,000 job. And 20 minutes later, you know, he's got a little valve cover issue going on or whatever and you know, one guy was going to charge him $4,000 with no problem. The next guy's honest. Same thing with a fan situation he had, which on Escalades, he just happened to be out of town in Florida. He's down there, and the guy actually reprogrammed it, changed the module, the whole thing for $400. Up here, before he went down there, they were trying to charge him a couple grand. So yeah, wouldn't ever believe and always go with a second opinion. Now, FYI, catch full. Let me tell you this too. I don't know if it's in your budget, but if it is in your budget and you can take that car down to the manufacturer dealer to have it inspected, that's always the best $65 you'll spend. You don't have to have them fix it. But if you ever have questions in your mind, take it to the dealership, is what I like to call them. But they are very technical and they are very much on top of it. And you can get a safety inspection done for $50 or $60. And then you don't have to worry about it if you don't have a mechanic available to check it out. AutoBuff says, never once looked on Craigslist or Facebook. What? What do you mean you never looked on Facebook? Okay, all right. We're kicking AutoBuff out of the Christian. He's no longer a Christian. Why don't you go look at Craigslist or Facebook? He's probably buying from the block, and that's okay too. I know we have car dealers on here, and they all know too. The problem with buying an auction car for less, there is some problems with buying a car for an auction. Not always, but here's some of the things you run across at an auction for under $1,000. One, there's a lot of experienced car buyers there. So if the car was legitimately worth more money, one of them is probably going to catch on, and it's really hard to slide a good deal at a car dealer auto auction. And the reason is simple competition. I mean, if there's going to be 50 guys that walk past that car that buy cars, and if there's $1,000 to be made or $1,500 to be made, that's how they all think when they pass it. So it's not in your favor that you're going to actually get a good deal, where it would be it would be looking really in your favor as to private individual, especially if you're private buyers. Please don't go to a public auto auction and just raise your hand up. It definitely cost you a lot of money. Brian Jones, you looking good, and fella, I feel you, brother. I'm feeling good. Did take it to the Ford dealer. They said the ball joints do need to be changed, but at the present they are fine. Okay, all right. You know what? That's doable. And you know what? You can ride those ball joints for a little while. You do want to get that addressed, but you know, it's not like you're going to die tomorrow without having them done. They're probably showing a little bit of cracking around the actual covers or something along that lines. And eventually they won't hold grease, and eventually they'll start clunking and bumping. Even second opinions are hard. Gloria writes, I've been on point, and yet the mechanics seem disturbed that I actually know the issue is, and they are super not friendly. You know, Gloria, I don't even know where you're from, but I wish she needed a job, because I think I could use this girl in my life. I like how this girl handles other mechanics. Assuming, Gloria, that you are female. She's in South Carolina. I feel you, girl. Okay, you know what? Here's how I handle, this is exactly how I handle mechanics. I'm not disrespectful, but I pretty much enter it with a thought process of, I already know what I want, and either you deliver or I'm moving on. And that's just kind of how I do it. And I know it's kind of hard to do it like that based on, you know, sometimes in life it's not quite that easy. All right, hold on. I'm trying to get something out of our way here. We just got blew up on, we're getting blew up. That was somebody else. All right. Yeah, so it is hard to get a second opinion. Now, Gloria, have you took the time out to try to find a good, like, I don't know if you're a church going person or whatever, but whatever network that you're in that you would know like a bunch of people that are not car related, find out who they use for mechanics, and try to get somebody that's kind of personal that you can be like, hey, let me bounce this off of you. And or you can always, if you catch us on Tuesday nights, there's tons of car dealers on here. They get on here, we have fun, and we can definitely give you a you know, a little insight. Hey, we can either agree with you or say, hey, you know what? Maybe I would check a different opinion too. South Carolina, JJ, can you please make a video of you at auctions? Yeah, there is some old ones on the site. But you know what, guys? I got to say this. So here's why I don't get into those that much. So as it turns out, y'all all know that I drink the stupid energy drinks and had 2 strokes in January a couple years ago, or a year and a half ago. And when you get into auctions, man, it is, I mean, just that nauseous smell of the fuel is just, it's just overwhelming. It's okay. I grew up on it. I used to say that was like people put milk in their cereal. I was like, I'll put carbon monoxide. Like, that's my guy. But the other thing too is, never, it's nauseous, but people get really funny. Like if you video on YouTube, you can't put anyone in the footage that you don't have an okay. So if I'm out buying a car and someone gets into the footage, or the announcer says I don't have permission, or it's just a whole lot of legalities. I know I've seen a few people pull it off, but you could get kicked off the platform over some legal stuff by not having permissions from all the people that would be involved, because technically the auctioneer, you know, you've got to be, that's him, it's his thing. And then people that are around, you got to have everybody's permission. It's kind of complex, and it's a big, loud place, and it's hard to get like a written script with everybody playing along at one time. It's just almost impossible, because at the auction it'd be like, you know, they're saying, you know, it's hit, bump, you're walking away, then you're in the next lane, hit, walking away, then you're bouncing back to that next deal, whoever you're at. So you're working 3 to 4 lanes at a time, and you've got stuff timed for, you've got different numbers on different lanes, and you're trying to figure out what time they're going to hit. And so you've got to jump from point A, and maybe you got to jump over to lane 8, then back to lane 3, and it becomes very cumbersome to have a little guy. You know, I know we love YouTube, but when you get into the big boy club, it's a little different, because everybody there is doing the same thing, and they'll be like, what the hell are you doing? It's a little crazy. But yes, I will try to do something. I'll try to get a little treat for you here coming up on something like that. Let's see. Drive by. Okay, here we're down here. Okay, just did All American Dream Chaser. Autobuff. Drive-bys and mid-side dealers sell 10,000 cars and up. Those cheap $1,000 cars make their lot look bad. LOL. Yes, they do. And you know what? You can always count on a good lazy car dealer. Not all of them are lazy. Some are just greedy, but a lot of them are lazy. And if something's got that wrong look to it, they tend to say, you know what, I'll pass for a few minutes and let somebody else make $1 or $2 because they just don't want to get their hands dirty. You know, they just got something that just came in fresh detailed and they got real buyers on it, so they don't really want to mess with it. Okay, so let's see here. He says he doesn't see the appeal, I guess, buying private cars without going to the auction. Buy 10 cars in an hour, little to no effort. Would much rather do that than deal with 10 jerks off Craigslist. You know, Auto B, I completely understand, you know, in a lot of our situations, we don't have a choice but to go to auction because if you're dealing with late model, you just aren't going to find, you know, if somebody says, hey, if the Ford dealer calls us tomorrow and he's looking for 4, they just got, you know, hey, they just got 60 grand freed up, or they're doing a dealer swap or trade and they're going to have 100,000 freed up and they want 4 Fusions, 4 Tauruses, and, you know, they want a color array, and then you got to go stand in the Ford lane and raise your hand. You cannot go buy that off Craigslist. So Craigslist is not always an option, that's for sure. But a lot of people that are kind of joining the channel, they're basically just kind of looking for onesies and twosies, or they have a smaller lot and they're attempting to maximize. Because to be fair, if you were at the sale, nothing against them, but if you were at the sale, you're going to pay a seller's fee going both ways, and all that nonsense. Maybe, you know, there's all kinds of little fees involved. So maybe you're up $200 or $300 on a car. And some auctions I've seen it get up to $400 or $500 after the buyer fees going both ways. And that can be expensive. I mean, if a guy's only doing, let's say, 10 cars a month, what is that? That would be at 500 a round. That'd be $5,000 a month. That's a lot of profit to give up. If you don't have it, if you don't have that volume to absorb that hit on the sale, it's hard. Now, one could also argue, well, you know, you don't have enough volume buying individually. I get that, but you can do it both ways. Not too much of a problem. Depends on the buyer and what your personal preferences, I guess. All right. So, by the way, appreciate that, Auto B. Fly catch full. I like the names you guys have. It's great. Question: the roof of my SUV has. Wait, hold on. The roof of my SUV has channels. Yes, we're talking about where the drainage happens. The clear coat in these channels is flaking. What is the easiest to fix this problem? You know what? That is actually very easy. If it's just in the channels alone, get you some maybe 1,500 or so wet sandpaper. Put tape on either side of the channel. We don't want to mess with any of the paint on the outside, just inside the channel. And you can just kind of wet sand it out nice and get it kind of smooth and make sure the flakes are gone. And you can go right down and just get you some spray can clear coat by Duplicolor, or you can go to like Napa. They'll make your own, which has got the hardener in it. They're about $30 for the clear coat, which is well worth it. Or you can do the spray on from Duplicolor, which will cost you about $8. The thing about the Duplicolor is not going to hold very long, and maybe a year or so, 2 years, it will give you some protection. The other stuff will hold the rest of the life of the car. Now, if you do get into other sides of that drain rail, be mindful. You may have to paint the whole body panel. That's why I'm saying tape it. But the drain rails are easy to repaint and clear coat because you don't have to worry about it. Let's see. Questions. Okay. How much would you save in auction fees if not from auctions? And hold on. I got lost on that one, Buff. How much would you save in auction fees if not from auctions? A to B. This is not a lazy person business. Well, you know what? It's not a lazy person business. And, you know, you can save. Actually, you can make a living. I mean, you basically could sell half the cars by not going to auction. I mean, literally, you really could. Especially, let's be reasonable here. A lot of people, they've got smaller businesses, and they might sell 5, 10, maybe 20 cars a month. And at that point, you can just supply all your own cars. You don't even need the auction. I mean, maybe a little bit every now and then, but you don't really need it. And if you got 20 cars on your lot, you're probably selling about 10 a month. I mean, 10 a month, what is that? That's another $5,000. Is that what we just said? $500 a car? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, $5,000 a month. I mean, you can buy a lot rent and pay you can pay like all your software bills, and maybe they'll take care of your sales tax if you're a sales tax collector or whatever, but it's a big deal. The fees don't bother me. I'm not driving all over town dealing with uneducated consumers. Way too much hassle and aggravation compared to the auction. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. You can definitely, either way works. I mean, like I know Autobuff personally, and he's a hustler. He likes to get out and do his thing. I am too, but sometimes I am restricted to you. I can only buy at auction because of what I'm trying to buy and who we sell to. But do not get me wrong. If there is an absolute chance I can buy anything from an individual and work them on price and go without fees, it is done. I love cheap. Cheap is my best way to go.
Amen.
Shut up. Don't pay attention to the strange sounds in the back of this. What percentage of trade-in vehicles end up in the auction? Okay, so that's a great valid question coming from a franchise background. Pretty much, unless we're dealing with late model, we send all of our cars to auction, and the reason is it's a liability thing. And let's say tomorrow we traded in I'm just throwing this out there. Let's say tomorrow we took in a really nice 60,000 mile 2005 Mercury Mountaineer. Let's just say we did, just for argument's sake, and it's good miles, nice, decent car, not great but decent. We would wholesale it. And the reason is because by the time we send it through, if Ford's going to bring it in, then Ford's going to have to inspect it. And then we're subject to whatever's going to happen in the shop. So the lift rates are going to be what they are, which is pretty much almost retail, what a retail customer would buy. And then we're also subject to retail rates on the parts. So we have parts and labor at retail through our shop. Now, granted, the shop's making money, but in the world of the used car business, it never recalculates back out to the car manager's bottom line. It always goes to the dealership's overall bottom line, and you're still the asshole because your cars didn't make money. Or we can take all of our cars, run them through the block, and instead of us spending $800 in our own shop, which is probably $50 worth of work, we can sell them through the block and make $800 to $1,200, and that shows up on our profit. So there's a liability factor there and also the profitability factor there, because in franchise business, we don't want any liability, and we also want the highest profit at the end of the month. So we count on our wholesale being a percentage of our gross profit that we have to make. So if we were at a dealership that has to do 100 cars a month and you're at $200,000 gross, maybe 30 to 40,000 of that is figured on your trade-ins, cashing out your trade-ins. So you could see real quick if we were sending them to the shop how we would be losing money, and that's a bad idea. Now, if you were a used car dealer, which is great, and I traded in a car, it would have to be a real piece of what for me not to want to hold on to it, because that's a freebie. I got to pay what I wanted for it. I don't pay any fees. I own it free and clear. It's all good. So as a used car dealer, I would retail almost all of my used cars, and even the pieces of junk. I wouldn't sell them as nice cars. I would sell them for what they are, but you can still get more money than anyone else because you own the car. You could sell it for parts for $400 or $500 versus sending it through the block, paying $250 in fees, and then only collecting a check for $100. So yeah, if I was a used car dealer, my percentage of trade-ins that I resold would be 100, and ones I kept would be 100. As a retail dealer in the franchise business, they're not going to hold on to very many unless it's a really nice late model car that plays into their either secondary finance business or into their franchise name. You know what I mean? Like a 2015 Toyota, they're going to keep. A 2009, they're junking it. They're going to send it through the block. Pretty much. All right, let me catch up. All right. Autobuff, the good thing about Craigslist is you can get ballpark price before you ever leave the house. Yes, yes, I love that. And same thing with Facebook and Let Go and all those companies. Most of them will shoot you a price, and by their wording on their ads, you'll get an idea whether or not they want to, whether or not they'll say like, our best offer or, need to sell today. They'll give you some indication of what's going on. If they're like, well, you know what, it can sit and rot if I don't get this. Well, guess what? There's no deal to be had, so don't waste your time. And another thing too, a kind of pre-qualifier I have before going and looking at any cars, especially because I get really busy. I expect them to send me pictures and an address and communication to be free. In other words, I've got to be able to communicate with the person without any hassle, and I've got to be able to see pictures of the car and have my questions answered before getting in there. And I do that to kind of save time. Now, if I was really, really, really at my A game, I would just look for the hook to try to be able to get in there and just get in front of the car and just bet on the come. But I'm really busy, don't have time for that. But I don't advocate dropping people because you can't get all that information. I'm just saying that's how I do it. All right. Moving on. Let's see. Okay. Man, that is a great question on American Dream Chaser. You know what? Guys, I had a stroke. I can't talk right. Cheshire Cat. Chaser. No, it's Dream Chaser. I don't need my background here talking. Is Carfax worth it? You know what, man? I'm going to tell you the answer is absolutely 100%. Don't ever question it. Carfax is definitely worth it. Not probably for the same reasons that you think it is, but let me tell you why I think Carfax is worth it. Carfax, if you can pull it, matter of fact, you should have a Carfax app on your phone. You can get one for $50 a month and pull as many as you want. You just do that. Okay, number one, when you pop that VIN number in, if it gives any kind of damage report, it's automatically not a clean car anymore. You're like, guys, this car's been wrecked. Like immediately when you tell somebody and you know that it's been wrecked and they know that you know it's been wrecked, it doesn't matter how nice it was fixed because now we all know it was wrecked. So it's not worth the price it was worth anymore. And then also, if the vehicle's been changing hands, if it changed hands 7 or 8 times in the last 2 years, you're going to need to know that. Also, it's going to tell you like if any kind of craziness going on, like the any kind of brandings or any kind of deals like that happening, that would kind of make me a little nervous. But yeah, so it gives you nothing but it gives you the complete edge to sell the person that you're buying the car from. You could be like, hey, listen, it has this, this, and this, and this is why instead of them wanting 5,000, I'll be like, I think 5,000 is fair, except I see this. Now I need it for 2,000 or whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there. But you need it for a lower number. And then the same Carfax, when you're selling the next person that's buying the car, you could be like, hey, you know what? It does have a little Carfax, but this was done correctly. It's all on Carfax, and look how nice it looks. And you know what? 9 out of 10 people, when they're buying cars, will be more forgiving than the people that own them that have stuff happen to them. They will not be forgiving of themselves. So that really works in your favor. It definitely works. Okay, yes. Hold on a second here. Getting lost in translation. Make a half price. I love this guy. He's awesome. Okay, make a half price offer before you go to check it out. Even if they say no, they will give a better price and advertise. Just make sure you say that's all you have. That is it. So what Autobuff just touched on is pretty smooth. You can actually hit someone up if you do it correctly and say, hey, I'm just asking because this is all I have. I like your car and everything. Is there any way you would consider anything around this number? Because I'm working on a real limited price. And if they say yes, well, you were ahead of the game. That is a great. It's kind of risky because some people just don't want to deal with somebody that wants a discount right off the bat. But at the same time, you can really filter ones that you can get too fast and buy. So it's a risk and reward type thing. Okay. Do you ever work or know anyone up in the auto park in Burtonsville, Maryland? Not there specifically, but we got friends in Page Auto Group, Sheehy, and all those big boys out of there, all the way Northern Virginia into Baltimore and stuff like that. Question. Yeah, good point, Auto Buff. Let's see. Question: is eBay Motors worth the look for it? Yes, hell yes. eBay Motors is excellent. Yes, and then they're like a. It's funny because eBay Motors really does really well for strange items. I say strange. The more different it is, the better it does on eBay. But common items, they sell, but they don't sell for like what you would think. They don't bring like really good money. So you can get a common, let's just say, we were talking about Tauruses a minute ago. Let's say you're looking for a late model 789 Taurus, 50, 60,000 miles. You can probably buy one close to the back of the book and with no issues, nicer than you're even going to find locally. Like, people understand that, they're not moving them. A lot of times people put stuff on eBay because it's not moving and they are looking for a way to get rid of it. If it's a private individual, those people are really easy to work with usually because they put it on eBay because they're sick and can't get rid of it. And they're sold on eBay, which, and you're an eBay customer, so you're right in the front door. So yes, eBay is definitely worth it. Not with, okay, I forgot what we were talking about, Autobuff, not with $2,000 cars. Okay, what about flood cars? Can they still get through the system? I guess he's talking about I guess you're talking about Carfax. I've never caught a flood car that wasn't caught. When you do the VIN checks on them. Now, occasionally you could have a water damaged car that no one caught. I mean, it can happen, but most areas, say like that's going down in North Carolina right now, those VINs are being slated for destruction. So there's no way that car can come back into the circle. Period. The end of story. If you do get one like that, I mean, you just got to look for tall tale signs on flood, which is a whole nother video. I'd be glad to get over it because I did do some studying on this because fresh water, a little bit of fresh water flood in a car. I was looking at the late model. I'm talking brand new cars at the dealership in Texas when that was going on. They were being bought for 30 and 40 cents on the dollar. So I'm talking like, you're talking about 2018 Nissan Altimas that were going for like $6 and $7 grand. That were running. So with fresh water, I mean, you can definitely deal with some you can deal with a little bit of water damage with a car that's 1/3 of its value that's still brand new in the plastic wrapper, as long as none of the electronics are really messed with. And it's not, salt water is 100% write off, you'll never fix it. But fresh water is no different than driving in a rain. It's a little different than driving in a rainstorm, but you get my picture. It's not really long-term damage if you can get in and clean it and get it dry. All right. As for Carfax, yes. Okay, Autobuff's cheap. See, he's going to make them pay for the Carfax. I would say, I appreciate that, but we have Carfax on our phone, so we just pull them up and get it. But I like the fact of them providing it. Know your market, brother. LOL. Yes. Well, yeah, that's very true too. Unless it comes out of a bottle, there's no such thing as a fresh water. I'm not advising anyone to buy a flood car whatsoever. I'm just saying, if you can get to it, you can check it out. You'll have to make that personal with a professional there that can look at this thing and know if it is. But that's where the greedy side of me, if I'm going to put a car on, just put it in on the street for 10 years and, it didn't have very much and I can get it for next to nothing. I might do it. I wouldn't do it to resell, but I would do it for a personal car because I don't care. As long as it's healthy. But that is a great saying, and I'm going to remember that. As it comes out of a bottle. That was killer. Coat of the dog. All right, guys. So I'm running up on my time here, and I guess it's going to be the end. So listen. The next time you see us, we will be in studio format, and we're going to be a much different experience, and it's always going to be open. We're always going to want you to be a part of it, and it's just what we do. And the reason that I do these shows, the live shows, they don't get a whole lot of views compared to other stuff on our channel, which gets tens of thousands. We only get a handful, but this is my life. It's my legacy, and this is why I share the information I get, because I just enjoy it, and it's just what I've done my whole life. Yes. Parts. Yeah. Flood cars make excellent parts cars. Holy shit. Yes. I mean, come on. Yes. Especially if the engine runs, you got an $8,000 engine or whatever. More than that on a LS or something. Yeah, that's true. Carfax is only going to report on. I looked at a car with a cracked frame. This damage was not reported on Carfax. Yeah, you can definitely, you can beat any system out there. I mean, it's just kind of a tool. It's a tool basically. And for car dealers that are buying cars, it's a tool we use to get the price down. We still need to look and make sure it's a good car. But if it's in print and it's in black and white, that pretty much guarantees us a little better deal. And I think we're all about the greed. We're all on the cheap. We know we're on the cheap. Anyway, nothing but love from the car man, broadcasting from the RVA. I will be seeing you soon. I don't know if it'll be 2 or 3 weeks or what it's going to be, but when we come back, it is going to be in full studio format, and it's going to be awesome, and I hope you enjoy the experience. I'm always available for you 24/7. Hit me up on any video, message me, Facebook, Snap, whatever that is, and whatever all the other stuff is, we got it all. So you can just hit it, and it all comes to my phone, and it sounds like a Christmas tree when it goes off. Oh, good show. Thank you. Thank you. Peace out, brother. Nothing but love. We will see you on the flip.
Jamie, you just like to hear yourself talk. That's why you do that.
Wait a minute. Of course, the people in here tell me I like to hear myself talk. Still trying to cancel the show. Nothing but love, you guys. I think I got it figured out now.